Is your family split on where they want to go for vacation? Have your recent family vacations ended up in the gutter? Well, then it's time to change your approach and strike the perfect balance between action and leisure. Spare your family from disappointment and double their excitement with a vacation to Dubuque, Iowa. No other city in the world has the bowling alleys designed for a perfect game and ultimately a perfect vacation. So let's jump in. When you come to Dubuque, you're gonna notice it's different from any other city in the world. And if you're looking for some fun family recreational activities, you're also gonna notice that none of our public bowling alleys are on the ground floor. This is a game changer.
There are 2 bowling alleys in Dubuque, Cherry Lanes and Fischer Lanes, and neither of them are on the ground floor. To the casual observer, it might seem like a coincidence or novelty, but their elevated position is not by accident.
Nestled inside the Diamond Joe Casino, Cherry Lanes is a more modern bowling alley that's only a few hundred yards away from the Mississippi River, which has flooded several times throughout Dubuque's history. This sign from the flood of '65 is a clever, yet startling reminder.
A flood occurs when the water levels get too high.
2 things happened as a result of the flood of '65. 1, the city built a flood wall, and 2, Cherry Lanes was built on the 2nd floor.
It was literally a sink or swim situation for Dubuque bowling alleys. A flooded bowling alley could be the end for that owner.
Bowling balls that weigh less than 12 pounds can float, but if they're heavier than 12 pounds, they sink.
So while the first story bowling alleys were busy buying flood insurance, Cherry Lanes and Fischer Lanes were investing that money back into their business. They bought state-of-the-art pizzazz machines and cutting-edge antifungal spray.
Compared to Cherry Lanes, Fischer Lanes has taken an even more dramatic approach to elevated bowling. Referring to itself as the bowling alley in the sky, Fischer Lanes is located on the 5th floor of the arcade building in downtown Dubuque.
Originally called Dr. Pepper Bowling Lanes, Fischer Lanes has been around for over 80 years and is a Dubuque icon.
When you take the elevator up to the 5th floor, it's as if you've been transported into another place in time. You can sense the tradition and history while still enjoying your family outing, work social, or weekly bowling league.
While Cherry Lanes and Fischer Lanes are both safe from flooding, there's another benefit that's unique to their elevation.
The higher altitude has a direct correlation to higher bowling scores.
Gravity decreases as altitude increases.
So when the bowling ball hits the pins at a higher level, the pins are more likely to float and travel a bit further, making it much more likely for you to pick up those difficult splits.
With a decrease in gravity, the 710 pickup is no longer elusive.
It's not just the 710 pickup. When analyzing the 5 most difficult shots in bowling, the spare rates in Dubuque are significantly higher than the national average.
The higher altitude even impacts the speed and momentum of the bowling ball itself.
At higher altitude, the air is less dense, meaning there's less air particles to run into, so there's less air resistance for the bowling ball.
Here in Dubuque, the bowling balls maintain their speed and travel greater distances, much like how more home runs are hit in Colorado.
When you compare the bowling stats and records from Dubuque with the surrounding cities and towns, the differences are striking. That's why we like to say, here in Dubuque, we put the turkeys in our turkey dressing sandwiches.
Dubuque was already the perfect place to raise a family, but now it's the perfect place to raise your bowling scores. And while the higher propensity for turkeys and strikes is noticeable, it's also noticeable that there aren't any first-story bowling alleys here in town, at least not anymore.
The number of bowling alleys peaked in the mid-1960s, with approximately 12,000 bowling alleys across the country. For a variety of reasons, the industry has been in decline. Even with some encouraging signs of recent growth, the number of bowling alleys is just over 2,000.
Dubuque has not been immune to bowling alley closures, and while each venue has cited different reasons, the one thing they have in common, each venue was on the 1st floor.
Most recently, you had Crest Lanes closing back in 2020, Bowling and Beyond in 2012, and Imperial Lanes and Lounge back in 1992.
These other bowling alleys were also at a disadvantage when it came to the rising cost of the mineral oil that was used on the bowling lanes.
When there's less gravity, there's less friction, which means you don't need to apply quite as much oil on the bowling lanes.
Mineral oil is a byproduct of crude oil, and back in the 1960s, the peak of American bowling, crude oil was just under $2 a barrel. Today, it's around $60 a barrel.
There's a direct correlation. When the cost of crude oil goes up, the cost of shoe rentals goes up. When bowling revenue goes down, both the quantity and the quality of stuffed animals in the claw machine goes down. It's all connected.
Today, Fischer Lanes and Cherry Lanes stand tall as the only remaining public bowling alleys here in Dubuque.
For bowlers, the best move is the four-step approach, where they land with the opposite foot of their bowling arm. For Fischer and Cherry Lanes, their best move was making bowlers take several steps away from the first floor.
These two bowling alleys are truly focused on the next story. The next story, that is, of their rich histories and the future contributions they'll make to bowling here in Dubuque.
The future is the time, or the period of time, after the present.
The time is now for you to start planning your next family vacation to Dubuque, Iowa. Whether you're a competitive bowler or just want a good time with your family, Dubuque's bowling alleys are a can't-miss experience. These elevated alleys will take your bowling scores and your family vacation to a whole new level. Literally. Turn me over.
This program was produced with support by the City of Dubuque Community PEG Access Equipment Grant Program.
So when there's excessive rainfall in an area, or in the upper Midwest, snowpack that's melting in the spring, waterways need to carry more water. And when that water gets outside the banks of those waterways, it's called a flood.
We've been talking about first story, second story, so
yeah.
just even more of an emphasis on here's this. Look at this pun.
I'm punning over here.
As a historian, I believe people need to know two things. One, the bowling alleys in Dubuque are a phenomenon. And two, never invade Russia in the wintertime.